How's it going, everyone? This is Mustard here, and today it's time to talk about ERMAC in MK1. Now, first things first, I'm sorry this video is a little bit late. I know ERMAC has been out in the game for about 2 weeks by now, and there's been a lot to go over as a character. I've been playing him pretty much non-stop since he came out in the game, and ERMAC Cyrax in particular has been kind of my main team moving forward. I think it's really fun, lots of synergy, and I will be talking about that later in this video, but I thought because we haven't done an ERMAC video on the channel since he launched in the game, that now it's time to change that. I want to do a basic overview of what I think the character is doing strategy-wise. He's very technical, he's very execution-heavy, but overall extremely satisfying, as well as going into some basic cameo synergies that you might want to try out if you're giving this character a try for the first time. And then, of course, because I've been streaming so much of this team as well on our Twitch, I've been getting like daily messages from people saying, hey, are you going to do a video for ERMAC Cyrax on the channel, like a guide or overview or something like that? So I decided to do all of it in one go today, and that's what this video is here for. I think I'll do timestamps so you can see what bits you want on demand, just because it's that kind of video, but there is a lot to go over with ERMAC. So even though this will be quite a basic overview, there's still quite a lot to talk about. So I'll try to stay on point. I'll try not to waffle on too much. But overall, lots of good information incoming. So first things first, let's go through his strings and key normals. So when it comes to normals and strings, ERMAC has quite a few that you'll need to consider. I'll just keep it basic. His standing 1 is his fastest high attack. It goes into standing 1-2, which is a combo starter. You can do this into some sort of launching special. You can finish the string at 1-2-3 grab. It gives you this high damage side switching extension. And even if you just do the 1-2-3, it'll be a nice knockdown with decent advantage. But you could only special cancel the first 2 hits. It's a quick sequence of 2 hits, so this will armor break a lot of moves in the game, and overall be like your main kind of pressure slash confirming string if you're using any of your high options. 2-1-2 is a meterless launcher, which only comes out on hit if my opponent is set to block. If I just do 2-1-2, this is the launch. It leaves me kind of like somewhat airborne, which can be good for a multitude of reasons. But the good thing is, if you do 2-1-2, so on block, you'll only get 2-1, even if you finish the string, right? If you look at my inputs, I'm doing 2-1-2 on block, and only 2-1 is coming out, which is -7, which is safe against most attacks in the game. Now, obviously, -7 isn't great, but this is special cancelable, so you can do things like, you know, his cancels and whatnot, which we will cover when we start talking about his special moves. But just a good meterless launcher here. You can do airborne specials when you land on the other side in the air, or when you appear in the other side, like a float or teleport or something like that. Or you can just wait until you land and then continue a combo on the ground. So you could do something like float into air strings. Let me just quickly get this right. You could do like float into air strings, or you can just finish the string normally, land, and then continue your combo that way. You have a few options, so it really is up to you. And also, this comes off his standing 2, which is a tremendously long-range high that can catch people just squirming at range. It complements his best mid-range really well. His back 2 is his best mid here, and it has decent range to it, but just slightly further out of range of this is his standing 2. So those 2 buttons together really do complement each other. And even from max range, standing 2 into 1, 2-1 is going to give you the full launch. So definitely a threatening option. Just be sure not to whiff it, because on whiff, there's one hell of some recovery there that you'll definitely get whiff punished for. His best mid is his back 2. It's a 14 frame, so it's relatively fast. It's pretty much disjointed, right? That kind of bit of the hands in front, that really is like the hitbox on it. So you can't hit the hands to hit ERMAC, you still have to hit his model. And it has this kind of like slight vacuum effect where he'll kind of like pull them towards him if any of it connects. So again, even from max range, you're going to be able to finish this mid into back 2-4. Back 2-4 by itself gives you a slight launching property, but more importantly, is again special cancelable. So on hit, you could do like back 2-4 into a launching special, and on block, even though this by itself is already safe at -6, you can do back 2-4 into his dash cancel for like going back to build some space, or if you think they're gonna respect a follow-up, as you can finish the string at back 2-4-2, which is another safe ender. The only catch is there's a gap in between the second and third hits. You can do like back 2-4, dash cancel forward, and then grab, something like that. And obviously his grab animation is ridiculous. It's like, it's unique. There's nothing else in the game like it. It has about the same range as other grabs, but it's a very strange animation that will catch people off guard. And because he's got such amazing ways at keeping the opponent blocking with like you know, these mids with no gap in the back 2-4, these fast armor breaking strings 1, 2, 3, you know, just being able to dash cancel whenever he wants, opens up a lot of potential throws. And on that topic, in terms of like mix-ups and whatnot, he does have a standing overhead in forward 2. Now this is a really good overhead. It is reactable at 23 frames. It's not the easiest reaction in the world, but it can be reacted to. You do forward 2-2 for a safe string that just knocks full screen for a bit of damage, but the most important thing is the first hit, just the overhead by itself, is special cancelable. So you can do like this into the launcher, even though it's really unsafe, be careful. The most important thing is you can do this into his dash cancel, which, again, you can turn into nice damage. I think it's optimal for him to do, like, I think even the combo trial makes him do, like, you know, the overhead cancelled into forward 4, which is a very tight link, so, you know, this is going to take you some practice. It's actually one of the main things people have said to me in terms of, like, you know, learning this character is doing this overhead into dash cancel into forward 4, even though I got it there, it's really tight and it's difficult. But if you want to keep things easier, you can just do the dash into standing 1-2, you just... There we go. You can just standing 1-2 to EX teleport and turn that into a combo starter anyway. But the important thing is obviously this is an overhead, so the opponent has to stand block it. And he doesn't have amazing lows to complement this, but he does have some. Obviously his down 3, his down 4 especially. His down 4 is a very good poke. Again, quite disjointed. It's really hard to whiff punish because you have to hit ERMAC. You can't hit the visual effects. And obviously his sweep is good too. Really long range, 0 on block, you know, sweep knockdown, quite fast. So he does have some lows to threaten, as well as like an airborne low in his stomp in the air, which again we'll get to in a bit when we cover his special moves, but that's overall overhead usage. And obviously if you're doing dash cancels on block and stuff, like, you know, again, if you're establishing this and you know they're going to block and you know they're going to respect a follow-up, you might be able to throw out a cheeky little overhead and see if you can turn it into some nice damage as well. Standing 4 leads to 2-4-2. Which is this really high damage string by itself, but importantly, the second hit leaves you airborne and is special cancelable. So it means you can turn this into your airborne specials. So his 2-4, you can see ERMAC leaves the ground. You can do like 2-4 float, you could do 2-4 teleport, and of course 2-4 stomp as well. Most of the time you'll be doing 2-4 float, as you can like continue your combos in the air, because he's got quite a few air strings that pop the opponent up, which you really will be confirming into. But he has a few normals that give him this kind of airborne effect. Even on block it's the same. So you do float and continue pressure perhaps that way, or if you do like EX float, just to be a little bit faster, that's how you really start getting these tricky sequences of offense started. So that's good for combos, it's good for pressure, and obviously the full string by itself does quite a lot of damage. Now, D-Animator, forward 4-3. This starts off a single hit advancing high, which is the forward 4. Now, this normal, much like the 4-2, does leave you in an airborne state immediately, so you can do like forward 4 float and then all of the above that I just explained. You could also do like his float into any of his jump normals, so obviously for combos, you could do like forward 4 float into grounded strings by turning it into that from a jump normal. And forward 4-3 is a second hit of the string, which is, it's double high, but it's safe on block, knocks away, does decent damage. But most of the time, you will just be doing the forward 4 by itself, as it is a means of turning, you know, forward 4 into float, into a jump normal, into anything you want on the ground. Like, for example, his standing 3 combos into one of his special moves at point blank range. If you do EX palm off of this, it won't hit if you're anywhere but point blank. If you were to do, like, the float into it, this guarantees you're close enough for this to hit. So forward 4 into jump normal into standing string can give you like guaranteed point blank distance, which can help for certain confirms and moves later down the line. But overall, that really is the kind of combination of attacks you're looking at for his basic moves. Obviously, he has a very powerful throw, especially his back throw. Quite a few cameos can combo from this as well, which is really nice. And obviously, he has so many means of keeping you blocking with like safe buttons, the ability to do a dash cancel after many of them with the palm, which, don't worry, we're going to cover next because it is probably the most important move in ERMAC's arsenal. But because he has so many just fundamental good ways of keeping you blocking, stopping you from taking your turn back, and playing that real I know that you're going to press, so I'm going to do this and catch you for it. He gets a lot of throws. His strike throw game is very scary. Obviously, the standing overhead helps to open overly defensive players up if they're not looking for the reaction. And a few normals that you can use to turn into the air float for a cancel, as well as obviously grounded strings that does the palm cancel. But that's it for the strings and buttons and normals and whatnot. Let's go into his special moves. Actually, I'm realizing before we cover special moves, I should probably talk about his air strings as well, because he has quite a few that you'll need to keep note of for different reasons. ERMAC is a very airborne character, combo-wise. So if you do launch your opponent into the air with, like we've said before, he's got this kind of like meterless launcher here, right, into 2-4-2. You can do things like this into float, into one of his airstrings, and then continue combos that way. And he's got quite a few airstrings that will pop the opponent up for a continued combo. So if I set my opponent just to jump quickly, his 1-2-2 is this. He kind of teleports to the ground, pops them up, and obviously you can continue a combo on the floor. Again, if you do like back 2-4, that could be used to continue combos into special moves, into whatever you want. Jump 1-2-3 is very similar. Another one that you can just hit, confirm, you land, they get popped up. So he's basically just, you're seeing the theme. He's got a lot of strings that just hit the opponent and let you continue a combo with one of his standing buttons, right? They're all doing a very similar thing. 1-2-2 into launch. Jump 1-2-3 into launch. Jump 1-4 into launch. You even have so much time I just side switched. Jump 1-4 into launch. And you might be thinking, you know, when would I use each of these? And I think it's mainly a case of how much hits of gravity your combo has already used. Obviously, like a 1-4, for example, is just 2 hits and you land very quickly. So if you've got a gravity to use, that could be a quick way of picking up like a quick conversion or a string that you're guaranteed to hit something to follow up. If you've got gravity to use, 1-2-2 ends up giving you a nice grounded follow-up in like back 2-4. You can do this into special moves. And his jump 1-2-3 has a pop-up and can be special cancelled by itself. So you can do jump 1-2-3 into air normals like float, or you can do it into grounded normals and get them the second you land, which can be a nice way of adding damage onto combos that have already used loads of gravity, but you're just trying to like squeeze out a nice chunk at the end. And that's where a jump 1-2-3 into grounded special can come in handy to help you do that. Now, his jump 2 options are really worth knowing because his jump 2 by itself is one of those strings that seems to give like a preset form of gravity once it hits in a combo. And by that I mean his jump 2-4-2 in particular is a very high damage side switching air string, and jump 2-4 is special cancelable. So you can do like jump 2-4 into like air like low stomp, which if you've used loads of hits in a combo that will connect. And then jump 2-4-3 is again another high damage same side ending string, but the jump 2-4-2 I think is the most important one you'll be looking at, because you can do this like really early in a combo. If I just do jump 2-4-2 here, and obviously it's going to connect, but because of how the gravity works when you hit that string, if you do like a long combo, let me just do a real basic one here. We can do this. If I do jump 2-4-2 here, you'll notice it's still going to fully connect because I think it's the second hit in jump 2-4-2 will give them that kind of like preset time when they're hanging in the air. That makes this a super consistent ender if you're looking to just chunk on some damage. And that's really good for comboing off of like cameo moves as well, if you just want to get a nice big chunk after using the cameo to extend, which we will go into later. But that's basically it for his strings. Just a lot of combos on the ground, a lot of pop-ups and juggles in the air. And as we start to piece these together with his special moves, it will all begin to make a lot of sense. Alright, now it's time to start talking about his special moves. So, Spirit Punch is back forward 1. This is by itself just a normal strike that just sends full screen, but if you can hold the attack button, it will charge this move up, and at full charge will give a full combo granting stun animation. Now, this is good because during the charge, you can dash forward or back to cancel out of it, and if I give myself less than full bar, if you look at my meter in the bottom left, you can do forward dash, back dash, and you can really just constantly do this. Like, you can use this as your main form of movement, because remember, it's just a dash. You can block out of this the same way you can a normal dash. You're just doing it out of back forward 1 instead. It's just giving you tons of meter, and by doing this technique all the time in the neutral, especially when it's safe to do so, you will find yourself with loads of meter to spend, and trust me when I say ERMAC has plenty of good ways to spend them. When you do EX this move, it will reach its full charge quicker. So you get the full charge much faster, which, like I said before, if you do like standing 3 into it, so if I get towards the range, standing 3 into EX this palm, you get the combo, which is nice. And if you EX it, the cancel is faster as well. So if I'm doing like button on block into the cancel here, right, which is just the back forward 1, charge the 1, and then dash forward or back. If you do EX, suddenly it's significantly faster, which if you're using this for block pressure can really help. But I will go into a bit more detail about this cancel now, because this is the move that's going to facilitate most of it on the ground. This cancel will it's not like universal frames. Basically, when you cancel, like, it will depend on what string you cancel, what button you cancel, whether you do like the mid, whatever it is. It's not going to be like the same frame advantage or disadvantage. But the general rule of thumb is if you do a string into this and then, like, you know, cancel it forward or back, it's pretty much going to be safe all the time. It's going to be minus most of the time, but you will be safe. You're not going to get punished for it. And that's worth remembering, because when your opponent knows that they can't punish a cancel, they're going to be like, okay, well, you know, if I can't punish it, I'm just going to try and know their minus and take my turn back. So I'm going to set Kung Lao to... I'll make him do his down one. His down one isn't great, so it might not be the best way of demonstrating this, but we'll show it off. So if we're doing a cancel like this, and we're going to make ourselves safe but minus on block, which basically means our turn is over on paper, players will know that and go, right, well, if it's my turn, I'm going to press. If you do the right form of movement, you can really kill people for doing that. So, like, if I do, like, a dash cancel, he's set to that, right? So that was a punish because I didn't cancel. If I cancel this forward... You see, it's safe, like, it's not coming up with punish, he can't hit me, because he's set to do this as early as possible. And provided I don't drop the cancel, that will be safe every time. But if he's going to know that and press, and I do a quick backdash cancel into another back two, you see it says punish on my side of the screen? This is a way of deterring people from taking their turn back after the dash cancel. Because if you want them to press, they will. The kind of vacuum effect of his back two, if they do press a button that does not catch you down, you know, kind of chase you down and catch you as you go for the backdash, you're going to end up fully punishing them for trying to take their turn on your disadvantage. And that is super powerful for this kind of character, because again, back 2-4, there's no gap in this string. 1-2, there's no gap in this string. So armor isn't always going to be the most versatile option against it, unless you really just overcommit, which, you know, could happen, but it just adds that layer that as soon as you establish that and they are not going to want to press and take their turn, it can open up things like doing a forward dash into a grab, and then doing whatever it is you want, depending on, you know, your cameo throw options or even your back throw. And because you can really chew people up for trying to take their turn, it opens up a true strike throw that they are going to be so deterred from pressing all the time, because you want them to do it. Because if you read it and you catch the button, you've just punished them for taking their turn on your frame disadvantage, which is super useful. Now, Witch Slam, down back 1, this is the ERMAC lift that we've all come to know. The difference in this game is the meterless version does not launch. It just is a same side ender for some damage. And if you EX it for a bar, it will then lift them into the air, which you can follow up with whatever combo you want. So if you were to hit this, obviously you do stuff like jump 1, 2, 3, into standing 4, into whatever. Like real basic routes that you can get. But the good thing about Witch Slam is it has real nice range to it. Like I think this is about max range, not quite about here, I want to say. Yeah, so for a launching stun, that's pretty long range, which means you can use it to pick up from like jump kicks and wayward hits like that. If someone's like just jumping, you want to pick it up, you can just go for this just to catch them. On the ground, you can confirm if you do like a long combo, and then back 2-4, it will still work, and the time they're stuck in the air from this will be the same no matter what. So it's a real nice kind of go-to confirming option if you just want to spend the bar and get some damage extended. Behind you is ERMAC's push at back forward 2. It's a long-range choke attack that sends to pretty much near enough full screen. Decent damage, knockdown, the usual. And when you do EX, this is his armored move. And ERMAC's only armored reversal. Now, one thing to remember about this move is it is a high, so if your opponent is ducking, it will just go over their heads, even the EX version. So this will make it rather unreliable as a reversal, because players that know the matchup as this, you know, as the time goes on, they'll start going for pressure options or meaties on your wake up and stuff that leave them low to the ground. They'll be using pokes more. They'll be using you know, moves that physically move their opponents lower to the ground, and they'll be able to low profile it quite a lot. It's not a useless reversal, but it is definitely going to put it on the weaker side, because there are other, like for example, Nitara's reversal is the same thing, and it has the exact same kind of weakness. It definitely is a problem, so I think it could end up being quite a big issue for ERMAC in the long run, but considering the offense he has, I think it kind of balances out, but obviously only time will tell. Now, suspended animation is ERMAC's float. It's down back 2 in the air. It's not a flight stance. You can't stay in the air indefinitely. As you can see, I do the move, he hovers, he lands. You can have a little bit of directional influence by holding forward or back as you do the move, and he'll kind of just slightly nudge himself in that direction. which can be useful for certain confirms or mobility or whatever it is you want. But the main thing to remember about this is from this float, you can do any of his airborne options, which includes any of his jump normals, his jump 1, 2, his jump kicks, and they're all overheads as well because they're technically, you know, normals on the way down. So it's very similar to Sindel's stance in that respect, as well as all of his airborne specials. So, you know, you can do teleport. You can do his new stomp, which we'll be covering soon, which is a low, which does open up for some really cool instances where you can do like button that leaves you airborne into float, and then from that float, jump normal or stomp will be... I'm willing to say it's a 50-50. I don't think you can react to one or the other just because of the speed difference. Obviously, I don't know if that is exactly how it's going to end up being the case, but I would not be surprised if this ends up being a true 50-50 between overhead, normal, off the float, and stomp when you manage to set it up that way. And one key thing to remember with this float is when you do the EX version, it's much faster. So if I set my opponent to reverse with his armor, and I do like forward 4 into float into button, you'll notice there's a gap, right? He's getting armor out in between it. If I do EX float, suddenly there's no gap because it's way faster, which means that if you're trying to establish grounded pressure and you have the bar to spend, you can start doing stuff like forward 4 EX float, grounded string with no gap, then they armor, right? And you bait it out. And a lot of the time the armor's punishable, so then you just do damage to them for it. Or in some cases, just deter them altogether because you're showing them there's no gap. And it's as soon as you condition your opponent to respect the EX float, you can get away with more non-EX floats instead to kind of keep them on their toes, which can be really, really, really scary. And that can be good for certain combos as well, making combo timing easier. But the main usage, I think, is just getting rid of gaps on block if you're looking to continue grounded pressure. And again, you can do this to like fake out jump normals. You can alter your jump timing, things like that. And just overall a really important move, especially when used in tandem with his back forward 1 cancel as well, because it effectively gives you 2 cancels. You can do stuff like 1-2 into dash, into forward 4, and then continue this way. So it gives you like nice extra confirmability, and it gives you some really nice combo paths. And this is all true, and then you can end in, you know, whatever stuff you want. And then extend. That probably doesn't work at the end, but you see what I mean? You can be really free-flowing and creative with the cancels combo-wise. One thing to remember about doing these cancels in general, though, whether you're doing it with the float, whether you're doing it with the back forward 1, is the more cancels you use in a combo, it will begin to add a lot of damage scaling. So if we're looking at like ERMAC 1-bar damage off of like a basic confirm like this, and we were to do like 1-2, this, jump 1-2-2, back 2-4, EX lift, and then end this way, just into choke. Like, this is nice, respectable damage for 1 bar, right? Like, mid 300s, 360, whatever. If I do another 1 bar combo using 2 cancels... You notice that even though that combo was infinitely more complicated, it did 319, so it did significantly less. That is basically because the more cancels you do, the more your combo will scale. So if you are using cancels to be tricky in your offense or give you extra time to confirm things, the downside is, unless you do, you know, certain cameo-related combo paths, you are going to be doing lower damage than if you were to just confirm otherwise. Because ERMAC has some really high damage routes, which I'll get into in a little bit, but they don't use cancels, and that's kind of why. Now, Death's Embrace is a very important move for ERMAC. It's forward, down, back 3, turns on this kind of like soul armor effect on him. And basically what this move does is, while this is active and he has this effect on him, any damage he takes will be done to his super meter instead of his health bar. And by that I mean if I just make him wake up here with armor, if he hits me normally, obviously damaging my health, we've all seen that a million times. If I have this activated, look at my super meter. It does significant amount of damage to my super meter, but it does damage my meter instead of my health. I think the idea for this move is to give you somewhat of like a comeback mechanic when you're low on HP, but have loads of meter left, and that can kind of keep you alive, where obviously meter's no good to you if you've lost the game anyway, so you may as well just turn this on. I think it's intended to be a comeback mechanic, but I'm actually seeing quite a few ERMAC players, when they've got loads of health left, using this when they find themselves with loads of meter, and they're like, well, if they hit me and do damage to my meter, I've got all this health to build that meter back to turn it back on. And you can also like build bar while it's active, so a lot of players will turn it on and then just use this, you know, continue building bar, and they're effectively using it to just extend their health bar way beyond what it normally is meant to be. And it's very powerful, I'll say that much. It definitely seems super strong It is a good move overall. You can turn it on if you get like EX lift. You have time to turn it on to guarantee that by the time your combo's over, you've still got some of the buff to keep you safe. And if you want to turn it off once it's been turned on, press down plus a stance change, and it will disable it like that. So this move could end up being really cheap. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. Hungry Hands is the stomp I've been talking about. Down back 3 in the air only. It does this low traveling projectile that knocks down, sends full, or travels full screen, I should say. And again, is a low attack. So works well in tandem with like his float options, which are pretty much all overheads if you do like jump normals. And then suddenly you can do like float into stomp. If you EX this, it costs 2 bars, but will give you a full combo granting stun. Which is really powerful if you can hit it. Remember, it costs 2 bars, so it's really expensive. But ERMAC is a character that builds tons of meter anyway, so you will find yourself with the situation to do that kind of thing if you want to. What's good about this being a restand is you can do it early in a combo to obviously just turn it into like a combo starter if you want. Or you can do it late in a combo and just take a restand. You know, just think like what Scorpion or Sindel can do if they use their restands late. ERMAC can do the same thing with this if you get the right kind of situation. So if we were to go for something like, allow me to use a Cyrax combo just to demonstrate this. But let's say you do something like this. And then you hit them, use something like Cyrax to extend. You can do like jump 2-4 into EX this, and then there you go. You got a restand that you can do for damage extension, or more importantly, use it for like just an advantage standing situation that you can reset in some really nice damage if you can get that kind of instance on it, which can be really, really impressive if you can set it up right. But not a move I think you'll be using too much because of how expensive it is, but worth knowing in a pinch just in case you find the situation that it could be useful. And even if you hit it from full screen, it's like a traveling combo starting stun. And then you can dash up, do 2-1-2, and then get some real nice damage and extend with whatever it is you want to do. So worth remembering. Shrieking Souls is a meterless launcher that ERMAC has been given in this game. It's back forward 3. Kind of goes down to his knees, launches them into the air. It looks like you can anti-air with it, but I would not recommend it. It is not fast enough for that most of the time. I'll be very surprised if this becomes a consistent anti-air, but the main thing is it launches, and you can dash cancel it on a hit by dashing forward. So if I mash forward, you'll notice I dash out of it. That means you can use this to extend with either a grounded string into like back 2, whatever, or you can even do like dash forward, instant jump, and then hit like a jump normal if you've got the timing for it, which I'm dropping it every time because I'm bad, but there we go. You can do stuff like that and turn it into one of those like air extenders, which does make this your go-to confirm off of like sliding 1-2 into this, into whatever you want. You can do back 2-4 into this, into whatever it is you want. It really is your kind of meterless go-to confirming option, and you'll use it in certain juggles as well just to get more damage, because it does lead to some nice damage opportunities. One thing to remember though, you can EX this move to make it. You can dash cancel it on block as well if you EX it, which actually makes it plus. I believe if I've seen someone say if you do like EX this into forward dash, that's like +9. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is very plus. But you have to remember both the normal and EX version of this move are highs, so they can be crouched. And the normal version, which you cannot forward dash on block, is very, very punishable on block. -32. Even with that pushback, characters are not going to struggle to find a punish for this move. One thing to remember though is if you want to do this forward dash cancel in a combo, you can only do the back forward 1 cancel or this in a combo. You cannot do both. Like if you, for example, if you do like this into this, you'll notice I can't dash forward to cancel out. So because like once you've done the palm cancel, you can no longer do this cancel. So worth remembering if you're looking to confirm things, which is why if you're just looking to like punish something or confirm quickly into this, it will lead to more damage than doing, you know, 1-2 palm into 1-2 something to extend. But obviously doing the palm cancel gives you more time to confirm, so that can end up being useful, but it really depends on what you want. This will lead to most damage though, for sure. Shifting Spirits is the ERMAC teleport. There are 4 different versions you can do. It's just down back 4. You appear to the other side, knock them down. EX version will launch, so you can pop up and extend your combos, which is really nice. But you could do 4 different versions, depending on where you are. So by holding up or down after inputting the teleport, you can land behind them on the other axis, basically. So you can do like hold up and appear above them, hold nothing, appear behind, and in the air, you can hold nothing and appear in the air behind, and in the air you can hold down and appear behind them on the ground too. So you can go where you want, when you want. This can be good for different reasons, especially if you're trying to like close the distance or whiff punish or something like that. It's not the fastest teleport in the world, but it is very high reward with the launch, and it leads to nice damage. I actually think his highest damage route, if you're willing to spend the bar, is something like, you know, let's say you're doing like EX teleport confirms into this, and then, yeah, this, and then you end with whatever it is you're doing. This will lead to like a lot of standing damage by himself without needing Kameos to extend. Like getting over 400 is very good for a character like ERMAC, considering how much meter he builds and how frequently he can open you up and find damage to begin with, whether it's chip or just hitting you normally. So worth knowing, that does lead to some really nice damage paths, and then you can add whatever cameo you're playing on top of that to do even more. So now we've talked about strings, special moves, key buttons, and things like that, and I did say there would be a lot to cover. It's now time to talk about some cameos that might be worth trying out with ERMAC. Now, he's honestly very cameo versatile. I'm just going to show you a couple, but truth be told, I wouldn't be surprised if tons more pop up over the next few weeks and months, because he really does seem to be that kind of character that should work with a lot of cameos. The one that most people are playing him with, though, is Janet Cage, for honestly reasons that are very easy to understand. He doesn't really need help finding the hit. He doesn't really need help in the neutral, things like that. Like he's not really suffering in any clear way, I guess, with the exception of maybe defensively. So if you just have someone that extends your already, you know, decent openings into more damage, then that's worth considering. And that's kind of where Janet comes in, because using Janet Cage, you can extend off his throw and turn it into a full combo. So back throw, getting a full combo off back throw every time is very powerful for a character like ERMAC, because of just how much throws he gets, with how powerful his strike throw game is because of the cancel opportunities. You could also get combos off of his armored move. So you can use meter to extend there if you want beyond, but even getting like 200 damage for armor is not bad at all. And you can also extend off of a number of his strings and specials as well. A lot of people extend off of 1, 2, 3, still hit this by itself a lot of the time, and then turn that into damage. Because obviously if you're just, you know, doing this on the ground and they just happen to get opened up by the low, the good thing about 1, 2, 3 grab is the grab does not come out and block, so you're at worst going to be -7, and if they do get caught by just it, so if I have my opponent set to just stand block, if he gets clipped by this low, and I'm ready with a combo. Wow, I actually had hella time to do that. Even something basic like that, you're getting like almost 300 damage just because they got clipped by a low in a safe string. I know -7 is safe to most things in the game, but near enough a safe string is really dangerous and really threatening. You can also extend off of the normal push as well. So if you go for some kind of like normal confirm, and you were to go for the up punch, even that's doing like 373, and that's not even extending with like bar or anything. That's like no EX cost whatsoever. Basically, the point is you can get the hit and extend the damage significantly with Janet off of hits that otherwise would not add damage in that instance, and that can be super useful, especially when you're doing like the optimals. Like obviously I'm sure many of us have been seeing like Ninja Killer and Sonic Fox have been playing this team and just doing loads of damage in the corner with certain instances into push and stuff like that. It really is quite dangerous. And also having access to a restand could be nice for ERMAC. Obviously just neutral cameo, just an advantage restand with a character with like the ability to like jail offense. Like he can get back 2 off that. If I set my opponent to jump forward, he's going to jump as early as possible. Basically it's guaranteed, right? If you hit this, they have to deal with the mid, and as soon as they know they have to sit there and block the mid, you can start doing things like restand into overhead and then extend your damage and get tricky, or even stuff like that into throw, and then, you know, you see what I'm saying? It's just this kind of character really does benefit from a restand. So obviously Janet has loads of different moves as well. I'm sure ERMAC can get some kind of like, you know, puppet stance stuff as well. But at absolute basic level, it's going to be combo extensions with the up punches, particularly off the back throw, and of course restand definitely doesn't go amiss when you're looking at ERMAC overall. Now, there is one thing I want to show you with Darius ERMAC, mainly because I know that Ketchup would be annoyed if I didn't. But that's because ERMAC, like Sub-Zero, thanks to his freeze, is a character that can benefit from just the raw flip with Darius, which obviously this is like good set play options, nice high damage mix-ups, because every time he hits this, he's going to be able to do this into this. So you get a little bit of meter build. If you want to make sure you've got space, you can do stuff like lift, dash forward, do one back dash, and then do this. And then that will get you at the right space, so Darius will always connect. And of course, as long as that works, the benefit of this is you don't have to do like the ambush into the overhead for the mix-up, which obviously we've all seen many, many times. Characters historically that can just combo into just the flip can benefit quite a lot from potential mix-ups off of Darius. It's rare that characters can ever combo into just the one bar or, you know, the half cameo bar version of this, and ERMAC is definitely one of them. Which does mean that because he's got his lows, you know, particularly his sweep, he's got 1, 2, 3, that's a low as well. Because you can vary the timing, it does give you the options to, again, especially because you can do this float anywhere. You can do the lift anywhere, and then just do it here, and suddenly, same situation again, and, you know, here we are. And then confirm with this, and then back in the same situation again. Or if you want to loop it, you can just do the same thing, or you can just cash out your damage and just, you know, do a little bit more into nice damage opportunities. I'm sure there's more that ERMAC Darius can do. I just thought that that was a really cool synergy to show, because it does lead to some pretty dirty mix-up openings that we know, obviously, characters like Sub-Zero can get with Darius. We've seen Reptile do it over time. We've even seen Shao do stuff like that. And ERMAC would be one that I think could definitely use Darius in time, but obviously we have to wait and see. Now, one cameo I really wanted to show off was Sonya, because of one major thing. You know, I was saying before about the style of going for this kind of like soul armor, and then going for like loads of meter build, and almost like playing quite a dry game of just permanently having this on and just getting loads of bars so you're hard to deal with. I think Sonya facilitates that really well because of the enhanced energy, or the held energy ring blast. As you can see, the cooldown time on that move really isn't bad at all. It's a mid always, so, you know, while they're there dealing with it, you could obviously just call Sonya, charge this, and now suddenly, you know, it makes it really hard for them to approach as long as Sonya is charging it. And then obviously when you're holding the ring, you can do stuff like the usual grab into this, take your 100 guaranteed damage. On hit, you can obviously do things like ring blast into overhead. And obviously on hit, you can confirm that if you have the right timing. So, like, the potential for some offense is there as well. It's just, yeah, you could do it off of the sweep as well. So it does give you elements of, like, hold the ring charge, go in, do something crazy. Even that, right? Even if you do, like, dash up grab and then the ring connects, they can't tech that. The ring is guaranteed to hit, and it does, like, over 100 damage. So it's basically 100 damage they can't avoid unless, you know, they just avoid the grab altogether. But as soon as this is being held, it's easier said than done, because that does give you that opportunity to launch as well. I'm not sure exactly if Sonya can extend off of anything the way that the other ambushes can, but the main use, I think, is just going for a more of a dry game with Ring Blast to apply this. It's not as flashy, you know, I don't have crazy cool, really extended combos to show you or anything, but I just think the idea of going for Ring Blast, extend, holding some soul armor, and then just playing much more of a dry game around just having this armor on as much as possible is definitely something we could see more, as I do think we'll see more Sonya cameo in the near future as the Ring Blast begins to get explored with a lot of characters, and I think ERMAC could definitely be one of them. Okay, now it's time for me to talk about the pairing I've been playing almost exclusively since ERMAC released. ERMAC Cyrax. This team is probably the most fun I've had with the game since launch, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. I actually think it's quite a strong pair. It's very tricky, it's very execution heavy. The damage is very respectable, and ERMAC synergizes well with near enough every move Cyrax wants to be using, except the horizontal chopper, which I don't think he needs anyway. Allow me to explain. So, he does have utility with vertical chopper. This is a combo extender off of many different things. I don't believe he could extend off of his throw with it. I haven't been able to find the timing on it. But the most important one easily is push. Anytime you hit push with the right timing, you can always extend damage. So even that, right, that's just push into Cyrax, into whatever, and that's like 280 damage. That timing is going to be the same no matter when you hit the push. So if you hit push early, like let's just say your opponent, you know, you just clip them with something and you just want to, like, you know, capitalize with choke. You can pick up, There you go, that's damage. And even if you do like a really long extended combo, so if I do like a long one here, we'll even do like EX lift here, late 1, 2, 3, then we'll choke. And you're seeing that it's always connecting, and we got over 400 for that. Off of the same kind of confirms I've been showing you all video long. You can do that all the time, even off of his like EX as well. So turning his armored move into a launcher, much like what I was saying with Janet, is definitely powerful. Again, over 200 for it. That's very nice. You can't combo off his back throw with Cyrax, I believe, but you do get Cyrax's EX forward throw, which definitely does like decent damage for a throw combo. Again, if you're willing to use the extension here, which to be honest, you pretty much should every time. Getting almost 300 for a forward throw, very dangerous, especially considering how much meter ERMAC builds and how many throws you can find. But that's just the combo extension game. What I like about Cyrax as well is that you can combo from standing to net. So this will naturally combo anywhere on the screen. And remember, the net is a long stun. They're stuck there for a very long time, and it drains a full chunk of meter from them. You might be thinking, how am I going to get... Because obviously standing 2 net doesn't work at long distance if I set them to auto block. If it's anywhere but point blank, it's not going to combo like that. And you might be thinking, well, how useful could that be? You have to remember, ERMAC has access to multiple cancels, and you can do forward 4 float into standing 2 off of a jump normal and turn it into net that way. And if you want to find that from a different button, instead of just fishing for, you know, forward 4, you can do standing 1, cancel, forward 4, cancel. And there you go. Now you've got the net, and you've got all this time. And a benefit for them being stunned for that long is when they're stuck by the net, you have time to do like 5 forward dashes and then fully charge palm and get this, and then extend your damage this way, which is a nice damage path. But while they're stunned, you could do things like meter build. That's still combos. Then you can go for this if you want. And by the time the combo's finishing, the net charge has already come back. You extend with this instead, and suddenly your standing 1 is turning into very respectable damage, even with the cancels being done, which normally adds a ton of scaling. Because of the unique path you can take with Cyrax, you're still getting good damage. And that's just if you want to go for that. You can always just forego the meter build and just go for tons of corner carry if you want. That could be really nice. But again, the fact that works off forward 4 is if you just catch someone with like EX lift in the air, obviously, and ever you get a confirm, you can just turn it into standing 2 net instead. And suddenly now you've got whatever you want while they're stuck in the net. And obviously you're building all the bar in the world while you're constantly draining theirs and doing respectable damage in the meantime. And these extensions work off of anything you'd be looking for. You know, confirming is mid. If you want to make it even simpler, you can just forego the standing normal and do EX lift straight from this into late 1, 2, 3, choke, extend with Cyrax. And then suddenly you're getting nice damage off of pretty much any touch. You're looking to mid to high 300s on the lower end. But if you're going for his higher damage route and still extending with Cyrax, let's just see what the damage can look like. So that's 1 bar there. A 2nd bar here. Really want a late jump 1, 2, 3, like really late. And then same thing. I mean, look at that, 490, almost 500 damage for 2 bars. And that combo was doing like, what, 420, I think it was, when we did it without the Cyrax extension, and now suddenly it's doing pretty much half-life to most characters if you're willing to come off the damage. And that's just the net and chopper utility. Now it's time to talk about my favorite element of the team, and if you know me, you know what it's going to be. It's self-destruct time. ERMAC has true setups with Cyrax anywhere on the screen that cover all sorts of wake-up options, and he has such a good way of setting it up because, remember, I was talking before about how long they are stuck in the air when you hit EX lift. Look at what happens when the EX lift lets them go. They drop on the floor, then they stand up. That is the same time every time, and you can move the entire time, and that gives you ample opportunity to time a self-destruct to hit them as they get off the ground. For example, if I go for EX lift, and then I time it right, that right there meets normal wake up timing and delay wake up. So I'm going to set him to just wake up with his fastest button. Let's make him wake up with his fastest button. When he gets off the ground, he's going to wake up with his fastest poke, which is 7 frames. Obviously, I know his fastest button is back 1, but, you know, hear me out. Most people, if they're trying to disrespect and wake up, they'll do a poke or something like that. So with correct positioning and timing and setting up the bomb at the right time, you can meaty tons of things your opponents will want to do. So that meaty's normal timing. Now I'm going to make him delay. And that meaty's delay timing. And as you can see, the string is always comboing into bomb, and he's trying to wake up with a button. What this means is this single timing is covering both wake up options and will meaty with an attack every time. So they have to block or armor on wake up to get out of this. And as soon as your opponent is stuck dealing with that, you know what you're looking for. Because let's think for a minute why they might want to get out of this. Because let me just show you the damage. So if I do an extended combo, right, and then I do the lift, and then that hits, we spend another bar. Now we cash out with Cyrax. And suddenly, you're seeing the kind of damage we can threaten off of reset opportunities. And this is a basic layer. This isn't exactly a mix-up. This is just a meaty timing. But the important thing is, once you've established this, you can start doing the tricky stuff instead. And remember, once you hit the lift, you can time it so it's a consistent setup every time. What I'll like to do is, because like whenever you hit the EX lift, the range you are at after it connects will be different, even though the timing of them being in the air is the same. So what I try doing is, when I hit the lift, I'll always dash point blank and then do a single backdash. And then this backdash spaces me perfectly. So if I hit this from like point blank, so then one backdash, then I do it, and there he is, right behind them. Or if I hit it at like max range lift. Let's see if I can hit this. Yeah, as long as I get point blank and do a single backdash, I will always be at the same range, and Cyrax will always be positioned appropriately that A, I won't blow myself up, and B, they are in the position that they can get meatied into it. And that opens up the rest of the mix-ups as well. Now, let's say my opponent is content now just blocking on wake up because they're getting hit by just what is basically a meaty, just mid into overhead string, and they're saying, oh, that's all right, I'm getting hit by this, I'm just going to block, what's the worst that could happen? That's when you then open up to the next layer of the mid-screen version of this. I've just recorded this so I can just show off, like, in theory, that having to talk at the same time. Instant flow overhead. That launches. And then the next time we do bomb, instant float low. That also launches into the bomb. And then obviously here you can just do fatal blow. I would have done more, but there's only so long you can record, so I could only show too much. But you're seeing the idea, right? Obviously that's very meter intensive. You can squeeze out more damage if you ever want to cash out with Cyrax. I'm just kind of showing you what it can look like if you read what your opponent's doing and you get the right option. Because float into overhead or float into low is extremely difficult to deal with. And both options combo into the bomb. And that's just mid-screen. In the corner, you get a much more true mix-up, which I believe is just throw into just 1-2. I'll show you that now as well. But basically, like, you're seeing the idea, right? Is confirm into lift. If you want to reset and you think you need the damage, then obviously it's available to you. If I put this into the right, in the corner, it's much of the same, only it's coming from like a strike throw mix-up, which is very dangerous, as we've seen with other characters that are doing Cyrax stuff in the corner, like Sindel, obviously Peacemaker, anything like that. But yeah, it's much of the same. Confirm into launch. And then meter build if you want it. Get close. Pull the bomb. Throw onto it. And then you would do choke. If you want to cash out, you can. So obviously, if you're spending the cameo, as long as you're doing over 200 for the throw bomb mix-up, I don't think that's damage your opponent can ever just really ignore, because that will add up quickly. And in the same situation, you could do like launch, this, lift, get your bar, and then just do 1-2. And obviously this is going to scale significantly less. Oh, I mean, I didn't even get the right extension right, and it's still doing a lot of damage. Let me just do that again just to show you the damage. Standing 4 this time. Get your meter build. Can actually do it twice, I think. There's a choke. And again, yeah, we're doing close to 400 damage off of that version because the throw obviously scales significantly harder. And obviously, if you think your opponent's going to delay wake up, you can always just hold Cyrax a little bit longer and then react and let him go accordingly. It's a bit trickier, but obviously it does work, and it can work. It's just obviously a bit more difficult for you as the attacker, but it's something you can learn. It's not overly difficult. But you're seeing the idea, right? It's just chopper extensions for combos, net utility off of cancels, throw combos, forward throws with the meter builds you have with ERMAC are really nice, and obviously really nice self-destruct setup opportunity anywhere on screen. That's a big one. The fact that ERMAC can threaten it anywhere is big, because some characters that get it, they can only really make the most of it in the corner, and I genuinely think ERMAC can do it anywhere on screen. It's not always like the most foolproof of set play options, really. I don't think you'll be doing it to destroy entire life bars all the time. I think it's best used for like key instances where the reset will kill and you think your opponent is specifically looking for it, but overall very dangerous. And finally, I want to show you a version of this setup that can deal with annoying armor, particularly like safe armor or armor people are using a lot to get out of setups, provided this works, of course, against it. So even against things like Kung Lao armor, you can armor break into the launch. This kind of reminds me a bit of like Triborg, MKX stuff, but very cool and very good to know. And trust me, if you hit someone with this on their armor, that is just going to have them like, they're out. They're out for the round. From any setup you do from that point, it's just going to be particularly effective and lots of fun. But that about covers everything I wanted to talk about. Now, of course, this could be quite a long one. It depends what it is like in the edit. There's a lot to go over with ERMAC as a character, and particularly the ERMAC Cyrax team. I know a lot of people have been asking me on stream if I want to make a video covering this and whatever's going on. And even if you're here just looking for like a basic overview, I hope you got what you wanted from this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you got what you wanted out of this video, and I will of course see you on the next one. Feel free to subscribe and follow the channel if you want to see more content like this, as of course there's still plenty more DLC characters left to come with Season 1, and we'll be doing stuff for them as well. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Peace out. See you next time.